went to India and he came back and he wrote these books. And he wrote a book called Journey to Awakening, which in it he talks about the three pillars of life, which is Eastern philosophy. It wasn't his idea. He just translated it into lay people's terms, whatever. The idea that Eastern philosophy talks about the three pillars of life, the doing, the being, and the having. And he says that most of us spend our lives doing to have more and ignore the being. And he said we have to change that paradigm if we want real happiness. And that means that we have to focus on the being more than the doing and having. Inevitably, there's always going to be doing and having in life. We don't want to get rid of that, but we want to reprioritize the being. And so when you're with your children, you reprioritize the being and their feelings and their experiences and reflecting with them as opposed to the doing and the having.
I love that. Because most people are do, be, have, or as opposed to be, do, have, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. I love that. And you said to start with vulnerability yourself as an adult, as a parent. In terms of your personal journey on this, how did did you know this before you were a parent, or has this been a parenting journey for you? I mean, were you a very, like, you were there as 0 to 3 and you were with the kids, or is this something you learned on your journey? What's your personal side of it?
Well, I mean, it's a little more complicated with me because I was a clinician and I was already focused on, my profession was relationships. I had been doing work in clinics with children. I had been doing parenting classes for years before I ever had children as part of my profession. I'd been teaching psychoeducational parenting classes, and I was already interested in this kind of field of the influence of early interaction with personality development. So I was already interested in it when I had my own children. It was known. It was a known entity. It wasn't a surprise. I think for most people who aren't in my field, maybe even some who are in my field, it becomes as a surprise. It's like, oh my God. But for me, it was a known entity. So, and my husband and I were both on board. It was a strategy we had, which is, I'm going to lean on you in these years that we have children. I'm going to take off as much time as possible and just work enough after that to just pay for my mother's helper. And you pay for everything else in those years. I'm going to lean on you because I trust you. I'm leaning on you, and we're going to be a team. And we were a team.
Mm-hmm.
He made most of the money. I just made enough money I worked enough just to keep my license, and also to pay the mother's helper, because I had 3 children at some point. And then we, in rapid succession, had 3 children. And we were a team. And I think we don't talk about that. We don't talk about how this isn't, it's not a solo act. It's not an exercise in independence and self-sufficiency. It's an exercise. It's a team building exercise. How are we going to create a life? We took expenses off of the table as much as possible, so we could do with a little bit less materially. And we focused on what was important to our kids, which is, we were a team. And we don't tell young people that dependency is part of intimacy, but it's also part of the teamwork of raising healthy children. If you're so afraid to be dependent on another person, then, you're not going to be able to create this healthy environment for children.
Interesting, because I've seen codependency as a negative.
I know. That's why I don't like that term, because it gives dependency a bad name. I mean, I think codependency means ambivalent attachment disorders. Like, oh, I can't let you out of my sight. Oh, I can't let you out of my sight. No, that's not what I think. I think it's like saying, Need is a very healthy thing, but having excessive need may be neurotic. In the same way, dependency is a very important part of relationships. I depend on you and you depend on me. Otherwise, there's no connection. There's no intimacy. We're not islands. We're not meant to be, and certainly not when we raise children.